Welcome, everybody. Roger, can you just put your mask up? You're now supposed to be a Yuan or somebody.
Thank you, Bernard. What an emotive morning we've had. I think one of the things that the current US administration knows how to do is to invoke emotion. Maybe to get everybody not thinking logically, to just confuse everybody. But I think we need to focus, right? And I think I agree with the sentiment of making lemonades. And I think a wise man in this audience once told me, in the midst of chaos, there's opportunity. Redirect your focus. And I think perhaps in the face of uncertainty then, we need to foster resilience. That will help us thrive and foster resilience. And maybe this uncertainty is an opportunity to unlock doors for transformation and growth. With that philosophical statement, hopefully we've had an insightful discussion, or what we've heard from Teresa and Sylvania Platinum. We now turn our focus to two other significant players in the PGM space. I don't know what to call yourselves. We had major players, we had mid-tier, but I'll stick with significant players in the PGM sector.
I like Bernard's mega player.
Mega player. You do have those aspirations.
She definitely will claim mega status.
Yes, who are developing assets in the northern and eastern limbs of the Bushveld complex. They need no introduction. And just so we're clear, Roger, you've had your morning, right?
Yes.
You've been talking all morning. It's Marna's turn now.
Exactly.
Just joking. We'll have a very well-balanced discussion. And I hope we note that they're at different levels of development. Bengwenyama project is at an advanced stage of exploration. And in contrast, Marna, you are further advanced along the way with intentions for first ore production in Q4 of this year. So hopefully, with the reflections, we gain a more comprehensive understanding of the challenges in developing projects in that space, particularly in the midst of what is happening. How is it affecting project timelines, funding, landscape, and even offtake agreements, if we get to it. Marna, I'll start with you. Mining is notorious for lengthy development timelines. How long has Platreef taken you to develop? And how does it compare to your other projects like Kamoa? And what are some of the unique challenges that you faced along the way? And please stick to just the unique ones. I'm sure there's a whole lot.
There is a whole lot of unique challenges. So we started off in South Africa in 1998 when we acquired the Platreef licenses. And then we first discovered what was originally known as Platreef, which was an open pit ore body on top of a community. And then in 2007, we discovered what's today known as Platreef, which is sort of the Platreef section that we're currently developing.
Right.
So if you take from 2007 to today, it's a very long period to get a mine to first production. And when we start production towards the end of this year, it will really be on a small scale. I heard sort of inside boardroom gossip. You said we should make this session interesting. That some of our peers ask, are there any small-scale miners in the room? And they refer to us, jokingly. Because we will start off small, and we're deliberately doing so, developing Platreef in a stepped approach, similar to what we've done at Kamoa-Kakula. So we're talking about 30, 40 years to initially get ground, start with the drill bit. We ran at some point the biggest exploration program in the world at Platreef. And then once you start with shaft sinking, especially if it's a deep underground project, it takes the time it takes to develop these projects. And the market doesn't reward you for it. They get bored. The story gets boring. Everybody says, it's just a marketing story. And they only really start giving you credit for your project once you get close to production. And we saw that with Kamoa. And maybe just sort of referring back to Kamoa and what we've done there, Kamoa's a different beast, and that's our copper project in the DRC. We made our first discovery at Kakula, which is the high-grade ore body. So there's Kamoa and there's Kakula. It's a mining district, really. It's not just one mine. In 2016. We broke ground in 2017 at Kakula. We started production in 2021. So that gives you the idea in terms of timelines. Those are declines. It's like 300 meters deep. At Platreef, we're talking about 1,000 meters deep, shaft sinking. So it's challenging to do a deep underground mine development. And then, you know, coupled with that, unique challenges was COVID. You know, we had to put Platreef on the back burner to prioritize the development of Kamoa-Kakula, which ultimately gave us access to a lot more capital, a lot more opportunity, and we now have time to really focus on Platreef and to get Platreef up and running and to develop it to the scale it deserves over the next 2 to 3 years.
Right. In the midst of what's happening then, you have phase 1 that you plan for first ore in Q4 of this year. The concentrator was placed on care and maintenance since June last year. How is that plan tracking, and how is it impacting your phase 2 development? And will you have to adjust in the midst of what is happening?
It was a strategic decision. We've got hoisting capacity constraints on our first shaft. It can only hoist about 1 million tons, slightly less. And we had to decide if we want to hoist waste or ore. And for us, we took a strategic decision to start with shaft 3, which is our vent shaft, and then to equip shaft 3 and pull forward our production schedule to get into phase 2 production. So our shaft sequence is a bit out of sequence now, because phase 2 is really the combined production from shaft 1 and shaft 3. And that will produce close to 450,000 ounces within the next 2 to 3 years. At the end of this year, on an annualized basis, we're looking at about 100,000 ounces. Right. So it really is a small mine. For us, we could be a producer at 100,000 ounces, but that's not what we want to be. We want to be that mega mine.
Right.
And that's why we deferred the startup of that plant so that we can hoist the waste from shaft 3 so that we can get shaft 3 equipped as quick as possible and get more ore out so that we can switch on the plant and build a second plant module of 3.3 million tons per annum to get us to that 450,000 ounces.
Sounds like a chess game.
Yes.
I'll turn to you, Roger. You have plans to start the feasibility study and mining right application this quarter, in fact. Are you still on track with those plans?
Welekazi, thanks very much. And so just to say, PFS was released on the 28th of October last year. We have they like to say that the Tier 1 space is quite a crowded space. This is a genuine Tier 1 asset, low cost, high grade, close to surface deposit. When you look at the maximum NPV model, this is $1 billion post-tax NPV at an 8% discount rate. Over the last 2 years, we've spent about 180 million rand proving up a 40 million ounce inferred and indicated resource with a 6.3 million ounce reserve according to JORC 12. If you look at the numbers coming out of the PFS, we'll be looking at producing about 2.4 million tons of ore on an annual basis from 2 twin declines. We'll use mechanized development with traditional stoping, our objective is to produce about 400,000 ounces of PGMs on an annual basis, 150,000 ounces of platinum, 150,000 ounces of palladium, and a slightly smaller amount of rhodium. So it is a genuine Tier 1 asset. We have an all-in sustaining cost at $800 an ounce. Our average mill-free grade is sitting at about 6.2 grams per ton, which is slightly higher than most of the mines in the area, simply because we have a slightly narrower stope face that we are going to be mining. That slightly narrower stope face also means we don't have to mine some of the chrome stringers that some of our competitors in the area have to mine. We're looking at establishing a typical MF2 plant to take the capacity. We'll take the chrome out generate about 350,000 tons of high-grade chrome, about a 43% content chrome, using spirals in the first stage of the plant. And this is a project that when it gets to steady state mining, which we are looking at right now to accelerate the development, which is obviously rapid development, and then certain additions to the PFS. We're doing some PFS enhancements right at the moment, which is quite exciting. It's fantastic to be working on a board where I've got a couple of Aussies who, their view of developing mines is quite a bit different to, the traditional South African view of mines, which is, develop a nice big 1 kilometer shaft. Here we're looking at depths of accessing ore at 50, 90 meters. The ore body dips towards the west, so it's got goes down, would be probably at a maximum depth of about, let's say, about 900 meters. So we're still on the shallow end of the ore body. It's nice and close to surface. It's not open pittable. It'll be through 2 twin declines, and we've been exploring a number of different options of how we could take this elephant that we've got by the tail and develop it in a strategic and sensible way, including, using the classical Aussie methodology of stepping stones, where you basically, demonstrate proof of concept. You take the steps of developing the operation of time, because obviously the delta between the capital required and the market cap of the company is quite big, so we're managing that process. I've spent a lot of my time in the last year in the investor environment, engaging both North America, UK, Australia. They are gradually switching back onto South Africa.
Right.
Obviously, with the GNU in place, hopefully it'll still be a GNU in a couple of hours' time. That continues, but not having things like load shedding and others have also been helpful in the process. But it's an exciting project. We've got a fantastic partner in the form of the Bengwenyama community through the Bengwenyama Ma Swazi Traditional Council, who own 100% of a company called Neuronox Investments. They own a 30% equity stake in the underlying asset called Miracle Upon Miracle Investments. That's the actual mining asset. As Southern Palladium, the listed entity on both the JSE and on the ASX, we own 70%, and then obviously we've also got a 9% equity share when Neuronox owns 9% of Southern Palladium. So with the community partnership, they are real partners. We've made tremendous progress, and we're now at the stage where we're doing the definitive study work. And everything that we're looking at, but just before that, we're just completing the work on the PFS addendum, which looks at some of the shorter options of getting into development a lot quicker.
Right. Everybody claims tier 1 and low cost. Are you really truly
Hey,
differentiated?
it's my job to be cynical.
How are you differentiated from your immediate neighbors? Maybe mention 1 or 2 things.
So let's just highlight that, if you're looking at to the north of us, I won't mention the company specifically, they're mining average stoping widths of 1 to 1.2 meters. They have to take out the chrome stringers because they don't form a competent roof. We don't have those same set of exact chrome stringers based on the, on the 30,000 meters of drilling that we've done so far. Obviously, every deposit has a degree of potholing. Our potholing hasn't been so bad so far. The in-situ high-grade reserve area that we've delineated so far is sitting at 9.9 grams per ton on a 6E basis, which is looking pretty good. Obviously, when you do mill-feed grade, if you have a stope width which is 70 centimeters and you're now mining at 90, you're going to get a dilution factor. We have been looking at a number of different technologies that we can use to reduce the waste going into the plant. So using optical sorters and things like that. So again, you've got to use the technology base. I really like what Phoebus had to say a little bit earlier about, you maximize the technology base. What it does is reduce your wastage. And it's exactly like the thinking that we've been doing on our tailing storage facility, where we're definitely going dry stack because that's where the world's going. It is more expensive, smaller footprint, less impact on the community, only way to go.
Right. So now, let's get to funding. In the midst of the South African landscape for a junior miner in South Africa, that poses certain challenges, especially if one starts looking at the Canadian Stock Exchange and the Australian Stock Exchange on a relative basis. How are you thinking about funding? And additionally, venture capital availability and government incentives, are you factoring those aspects into your strategy? How are you thinking about funding entirely?
So what incentives are you talking about? Just checking. No, certainly from our side, obviously we realize it's important to take this on a graduated stage development process.
It will also first be a small-scale miner.
Yeah.
So we start small scale and then evolve over time, because that small scale is basically demonstration. You're demonstrating that you have the technical competence which we have, that you've got an ore body that is worth something that you can actually develop, etc. So make no mistake, we've had lots of discussions with the local banking industry. South Africa is a venture capital scarce country. People don't like investing in venture capital projects in South Africa. It's just as simple as that. It's just because the tax system here, unlike Canada, doesn't have a flow-through share scheme equivalent. And so what happens is that people tend to be a lot more conservative in the South African space, and that's why junior mining, in my view, has struggled a lot in South Africa over time. Australia is completely different. There's a much greater junior mining mindset. They've got over 600 companies listed on the ASX. If you look at Canada, they've got over 1,000 companies listed on the Toronto stock market. And they do a lot of work to reduce the cost of junior miners being able to find something which is really viable and which can then be developed. And that's how you've got to have this pipeline of new projects coming through. So we're transitioning from an exploration company, from a junior exploration company to the development company. There's obviously a lot of different other challenges that come into it. You've got to be very clear on what your project execution plans are. You've got to be very clear on, in the DFS, which is in parallel done with the bankable feasibility study work, and it's been, for me, really interesting to have been part of the teams looking at all the work and help playing an active role in them. And so that work, obviously, you're looking at development funding institutions. Obviously, one of our local DFIs got a bit uptight with us to hear that we were sitting in the States on a bit of a roadshow trying to raise money over there. We were just on a roadshow taking the brand out there. So just to say, this again comes back to a genuine T1 project where we will have a certain amount of development funding interest. We've had a number of our potential customers coming and engaging us on the idea of pre-funding development for guaranteed offtake. So it comes back to security of supply issues, and that's been very interesting to engage on. And then obviously looking at how we can go also capital light options in the early stages of development to develop those stepping stones that take us to the next level. So going out in the junior mining space and trying to raise the tier 1 maximum MPV asset is very difficult. So you need to put that down on the table straight away. But doing it in a staged approach is very sensible, and generally that's the model that's used in a place like Australia, for example.
In the phasing approach. Marna, I'll come back to you. So your phase 1 offtake seems very clear. You've mentioned 50% of phase 2, that also seems clear. What about the rest of it?
Yeah,
what is your plan? You've also mentioned international considerations.
You're opening the elephant in the room. And I think that's always been one of our biggest challenges at Platreef, to basically fund Platreef. To get back to you, it's very difficult to fund a large-scale asset. If you look at the capital requirement for Platreef at scale, it's over $1 billion. We don't talk in rands, we talk in dollars. And it's very difficult to get that sort of funding if you don't have offtake secured for the whole lot. And I think what's changed with Ivanhoe Mines is that we were fortunate to develop Kamoa-Kakula so successfully. We're getting all that cash flows coming off. We are, financing institutions no longer view us as a junior trying to break through. We've got that track record now. So you have access to local facilities, you have access to international facilities, and that opens the world for you. In terms of our offtake strategy, we're very thankful to two partners here in South Africa who's partnered with us on phase 1 and half of phase 2. But Platreef will be a disruptor in this market. A lot of the current mines are underwater, and some of them probably should be sort of falling off the cliff at some point in time. Production will come off, and we believe that capacity will become available. Should it not become available, we are also looking at an alternative to start up our own downstream beneficiation capacity. But we have time for that. We have time to get there. We're currently doing a study on that. I think you guys are involved in it.
Yeah.
So it is part of our strategy, but sometimes you have to make bold moves and see where it will lead you. And I think it is time for the industry to get to a point where we can develop modern new mines that's safe, that we can drive with new technologies. And back to the tier 1 question, if you look at a Platreef, We're looking at a thickness of the ore body that's over 20 meters. It's high grade, it's flat. You know, that's what makes it truly a tier 1 ore body. And those are the type of mines that we want to see being developed in South Africa to sort of enter a new dawn of modern mining, safe mining, but it comes with a bit of disruption.
Just
Welekazi,
lastly, Bernard, I'm still in charge.
Okay, ladies first. Yeah.
Gold is now becoming shinier even than diamonds, I guess. Rihanna will have to change her song a little bit. What is your gold strategy?
So we did a stream at Platreef for phase 1 for $300 million,
Right.
but it's capped at a certain amount of ounces, and $200 million of that was capped with against our gold production as part of phase 1 and phase 2. So that's why streaming companies are so lucrative, and I think that's the business that we should all probably look at entering into, especially when it comes to gold stream. I think it's definitely a bull market at the moment. If it will stay there, I'm not sure. Currently, it doesn't really impact us because we're not in production yet, but if the prices stay where they are, our streamers will be very happy streamers and funding providers to developing Platreef.
Now it's your turn.
Thank you. So, Marna, the company is in copper very successfully. I mean, every update I get, you are doubling everything, production, and very successfully. You are busy with a couple of projects, and you are now starting exploration for more copper, no?
Yes.
That's what you just announced.
Yeah.
Why does your shareholders tolerate that? And Duncan tells us that he has to get rid of platinum and be exposed to copper. So why do you have a different environment in which your story sells and other stories seems to say focus?
So we have a very different shareholder base, first of all.
Unpack that bit.
And our shareholder base really consists of Robert Friedland, who's our founder, and he's sort of a 13% shareholder. And then Sajin holds about 13%, and then Citic holds about 22%. And
So
the
you've
rest
got anchor shareholders
we've got
with a view
3
of the world.
anchor
Yeah.
shareholders. And then we've got very large institutional shareholders that also holds blocks of 10% each almost. And then sort of your BlackRocks, your Fidelities, your capital groups, you know, all your blue chip names sit on our register. Do we have discussions about becoming a pure copper play? Of course you have discussions about becoming a pure copper play, but it's not easy in today's world to become a pure copper play because all of the big names are vying for the same copper projects. And the only good copper deposits that we can see that's out there are the ones that we are finding ourselves. That's what we are at heart. We are explorers. And what we've discovered in the Western Forelands next to Kamoa-Kakula will probably also become a mine within the next 3 to 5 years. So it's quite exciting for us in terms of our copper story. When it comes to our platinum book, I think our shareholders give us recognition that it's a tier 1 asset, but back to the story about while it's still in development, nobody really pays attention. It's only when you start producing, and only when you start producing at scale, that people sit up and think, wait a minute, this thing is for real, this is happening, it's in execution and it's there. So I think there's going to be probably knocks on our door to see if it makes sense to sort of redefine what Ivanhoe Mines look like over time. But for the time being, we are a major diversified mining company.
The only thing that happens more often than your updates on your doubling of your copper mines is your promotion. So you are so high up now. What are you overseeing? No, but more seriously, you are now, I mean, every time there's a new title,
It was actually a bit confusing, to be honest.
Very.
I should have did what Richard did with the designate CEO. So I've really been running Ivanhoe Mines, the full spiel.
So
since
is Friedland
2020.
reporting into you or you reporting into him?
He still remains the executive chairman. So he's the Steve Jobs of the organisation. But we work very closely together.
And so is everything under you?
Everything's under me,
So
yes.
that's what I understood from the
Yes.
announcement. I
Yes.
just am checking. But thank you for continuing to come and share. That story, I think Paula and I went down that shaft. Paula, you have got a memory many years ago now. We went down in a kibble.
Yeah.
We stood there, we saw the reef.
I did the same.
And every year I want to say, damn it, man, bring it online. And here you are. Your grades, your hoisted grades, what are they going to be?
It's between 3 and 5%, depending on the. So, but it's a high grade.
And your mining methods, obviously.
Yeah,
really.
long hole stoping and drift and full. Yeah.
Okay. So, Southern, whatever you call yourselves, platinum, why is it not Southern chrome? I mean, with all the chrome stories I've heard, surely.
Chrome sounds exciting, I must
Yeah,
I mean-
certainly.
Talk to us about chrome. Are you seeing chrome opportunities?
So first of all, Bernard, just to say, it's quite a privilege to come and sit on a panel with someone like Marna. She is in such a powerful position, but she's such a humble person. So it's quite a privilege.
And has consistently been so. That's why
No,
we invite her
absolutely. That's
back.
why
Yeah.
she's always
Unlike
so
you,
approachable.
who have got nothing and you're arrogant already. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So talk to us about your chrome.
So listen, the Pearlsprit on the operation is chrome is about 12% that comes out of the from a current revenue basis. Obviously, with rhodium having picked up quite nicely, that's about 35%. Platinum at about 26%, and palladium down at about 23%. Gold's sitting at about, it was 2%, it'll go up to about 3%, given the fact that based on our PFS, we had a gold price of 1,850. A little bit sort of under the water there, but we're pretty close on both platinum, palladium, and under the current pricing. So on the chrome side, 350,000 tons on an annual basis, once you reach the full production of 2.4 million tons of ore per year. We've already had discussions with Offtake arrangements on that chrome, because obviously there's some smelters close by in the area. If you think about it, this particular area around the Bengwenyama project in the Far Eastern Limb is prime PGM mining real estate. You've got the Duhoop Dam next door, you've got 2 Eskom substations next door, you've got a whole bunch of mines operating in the area. And then obviously South Africa does have the very big advantage compared to its other competitor areas, both Brazil and Australia, where we've got a significant smelting and refining industry that they don't have on the PGM space. So it's just an interesting way of looking at it, but chrome is going to be about 12% of the revenue split based on the PFS work, but obviously a lot can change.
And then, Marna, you make an assumption, which I think is fair, that as other producers rationalize, adjust, mines come to an end, there is space for your ore to be treated. You did mention you are in current conversations with at least 2 parties, no?
Yes,
I'm just confirming.
yes, we
And
are.
by when do you need such agreements? What is the timeline on that?
It will be towards 2028, 2029.
So you actually have enough time to
Yeah.
see how the world
Yeah.
unfolds. Yeah.
And, and just sort of speaking up for sort of junior and mid-tiers entering this space, it's a very difficult space to enter if you can't get a finite agreement with somebody or a definitive agreement with somebody around offtake, especially if you want to raise funding and you're not in a position like we are. So it's really the reason why most of the mines never see development, because the funding's just not there because you can't solve for the offtake. And I think sometimes, the only way to go ahead is to take bold steps, and then when the production is there, at that point in time, have a rational conversation. If there's capacity available, everybody wants to make a margin on their business, so I think the ore will ultimately be treated.
So, future Tier 1 and Roger. We've given Marna 10 years to come and tell us the story. It's damn credible now, and it's very near. Keep telling your story, Roger. We may believe you in time.
Yes.
More seriously, the endowment.
We're looking forward to that time when the first production answers come out, and we'll certainly have you in a hard hat down the down the decline.
Yeah, absolutely.
He can come and cut the ribbon with you.
Exactly.
This continues to be a country with a phenomenal endowment of PGMs. I think we are just showcasing some of that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming back again.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Hope to see you soon again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.